La 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 la. Witch! Okay, if anyone doesn't like Suspiria for reasons other than personal preference, if anyone actually thinks it is invalid art, get the fuck out. I take personal offence at the idea that the avenues explored by Argento in Suspiria ought to be ignored, and we ought to prioritise these banal, safe, escapist dramas for the appetite of a comparatively stable public. The wallowing in European existentialism for those who are cranky whenever film isn't pandering to literature, a superiority complex curator literature at that. Not that literature isn't great, but the appeal is usually that the average person apparently don't get it. Or just being predictable, conformist, scaffold adherent, vacuous, validating, selfish, suburban rat racing affirmations. If these are one's personal preferences, fine. I mean it sincerely, fine. But never ever try to claim that these works are in any way or somehow invalid. The unquenchable urge of an artist, or to any individual, to follow what they dream will bring them fulfillment. To deny them this, an endeavour in life which would not entail the hoarding of living space, of any job opportunities or aggressive uses of wealth over the freedom, lives, and well-being of other people, but simply someone's composition of a piece of artistic expression which the public either engages with or doesn't. This is one of the least consequential, for those who don't desire a relationship with it, endeavours available to this dismal species. That it does not impose on the prospective dream seeking of others. And so to try and suffocate this facet of ourselves, of our species' societies, I consider the sickest, most repulsive of human pathologies, especially considering that these types might sooner complain about works of art they need not remotely engage with than the malevolence of human material greed, of aggressive bullying in social spheres, and the revolting reality that seems to be the superior-inferior dichotomy which so many people want to codify into society, and many don't seem to be aware that they even feel this way, apparently. Dario Argento is probably the greatest horror director of all time, and if it wasn't him, it was Bava, and if it wasn't either of them, or one of those brilliant directors of 20th century Japanese horror films, then in the English language it may be Carpenter, Cronenberg, Turner, or Fisher. Whoever else you want to name either didn't direct enough overt horror films, Kubrick, Hitchcock, Lynch, or isn't nearly as consistent as you realise or just pretend. Hooper, Romero, Raimi, Craven. Most of Craven just sucks, actually. I vomited things into my toilet of more value than the time Wes Craven spent on our shared planet. Though Argento, between 1970 and 1996, easier to name the films which were not daunting classics of this medium's great history. I know after this, the quality radically plummets. I would assume it is a harmful combination of a disenchantment or lack of imagination with digital cinematography, by the mid-late 2000s at least, and a jaded cynicism which has him assuming that anything he does is innately brilliant, or conversely that any old junk will do, possibly. Digital Argento is rather depressing, it really should have been godly, but it just isn't. Kind of the opposite of that, miserably enough. Something Sleepless of 2001 is a little better than the other post-1996 works. I don't think I've seen that one. I remember thinking that Mother of Tears of 2007 could have been a hell of a lot worse considering what I'd heard about it. If anyone wants to nominate a feature from this era which is undersung or I ought to maybe more fairly assess, please do let me know. I want to love every film Argento has ever made, but he made it very difficult for me after 1996. And Stendhal Syndrome is damned insane. One of his better works, I might even state. I remember Noel Oakeshott once trying to champion the Dracula 3D film of 2012. I don't buy it. I'm not interested in crazy hot takes for their own sake, and neither should anyone else, or anyone marginally interesting or not, or just not some insecure wreck in the first place. The Bird with the Crystal Plumage was his debut. Think about that for a moment. I have a debut feature. I made it when I was 19. It's not on YouTube because there's way too much copyrighted music in it, but it does reek of someone attempting to frame a story together with a camera for the first time. How the fuck do you begin with Bird of the Crystal Plumage, even with the money, the particular era, and the pair of balls to even film something like that? Holy moly. Visuals for their own sake. The ultimate demonstration that films are more than relatively engaging plot synopsises, but moulded, entirely determined by the nature of their filmic executions, who would be excited about Suspiria on paper? Compared to any other similar horror film on the supernatural, covens, or immensely graphic murders, and I ask, who isn't excited or terrified by Suspiria in its execution? I came to a realization with Suspiria when I first viewed it at age 17 to 18, but I really liked a series of pronounced dynamic moments in a film, more so than I liked the actual scripts of these films, even if those did help, even a lot of the time. The vital factor is, of course, how it ultimately is handled by the filmmakers, the attributes of the story, the significance of the themes, how feel good it is, or how attention seekingly wish fulfillment some of the performances may be. Those are comparatively irrelevant to the general execution of the movie itself, or they were, for me, irrelevant if it wasn't a memorable, visually assertive act of absorbing film direction. Now think about it. Would you all like some of your favourite movies? What might those be? Star Wars, some Ozu work, something continentally, philosophically European, or perhaps some slick neo-noir from the 80s onward? If I directed them in my local Sydney suburb with a camcorder at the age of 19 with the exact same scripts, too? No. So stop fucking pretending that, the story is what matters most, or otherwise claim that I'd be a genius if I weren't just executing scripts that other people had written. After all, that shot-for-shot Raiders is just as good as the original Spielberg film, right? The one those little American kids made in the 80s? Oh, well, it isn't as well acted, yes. I'm sure that's the first thing that sticks out. Oh, no, wait. It's the story that matters most. So why not watch it in lieu of the original 81 film? Oh, because everything I'm saying about this medium is true. Oh, okay, thank you. Wish it wasn't that difficult to coax it out of you, rodents. Oh, so should we appreciate films with bad stories with basic narratives if they are just really well shot and visually inventive? Yes, why not? Maybe better to have both, but how many good, really good stories are in film, which we can all be consensually uncritical of? You won't name more than 20, which is not enough of an argument to claim that films which have impeccable narratives and or inspiring cinematographic ethos are anything except quite miraculous. And for all of this, all of Argento's enviable accomplishments, Suspiria may well be the very finest of them, and has stood tall as his most well-known and celebrated film. As far as I'm concerned, this film is the litmus test. Not if it isn't your taste, but if you consider the effort somehow invalid, of whether you have anything interesting to say about films, or how much general worth you hold as a human being generally.